I call for a supernatural heat wave straight out of hell.
All right, guys, this is going to be the episode you've been waiting for. This is going to ease my conscience a bit if everything goes well. If not, I'll obviously have some more work to do. I did a few things off camera this morning. Come to find out, remember this hose here that I was wondering what it was for? All it was a drain back valve or a drain back line to the oil pan because of the vacuum pump. The vacuum pump needs oil to run properly without blowing up and seizing up and all that good stuff. So I just removed it. We're not going to use it on this build. The main thing I'm concerned about overall when I'm doing this is oil pressure. So I've got an oil pressure gauge hooked up. I think that's a feed port there. It went to the vacuum pump, so I'm hoping it'll read pressure. I have to hook up the battery and the ground yet, but that's going to take just a couple seconds to do. Over on this side, I went through my spare parts bin and found a better coolant reservoir overflow tank. So we'll be using that instead of the dinky plastic one that I got. Throttle control for right now is going to be this. Since I can't stand on this side of the motor and monitor the oil pressure, I'm going to rig this up so that it'll hold it at a certain RPM if I get it started. And then, what else was I going to show you over here? I still have to prime the fuel system. So what I plan to do is 4 10-second starter engagements to get the system primed and to verify that there's oil pressure being produced on that gauge there. Once I see oil pressure and I feel fairly confident that oil has reached all the galleries in the motor and everything, then I'm going to prime the fuel system, and I'll show that procedure here in time lapse how that's done. I've never done it before on this motor, so bear with me. And then we're going to fire it up, get it up to operating temperature, and hopefully everything goes as planned. Once it gets to operating temperature, I'm going to shut it down, and then that'll be it for verifying that this motor actually works. I won't be able to break it in once again until I get the tracks on the vehicle and we actually take it out for its first test drive. So bear with me here, get a couple more things hooked up, and then we'll get to it.
خميس الله أكبر.
Oh, gummy bears.
Fingers crossed. I'm nervous as hell. Must be missing a wire on the starter here. Hold on. Okay, I think we got it figured out. Starter been sitting so long that it didn't want to engage. So, I also got a 12 amp charge going into the battery. So here we go. Oil pressure is starting to come up now. Okay, we got some good oil pressure. I'm going to prime the system. This is a bleeder screw to get all the air out of the system. I think. At least that's what the manual says it is, so we'll find out here if I can even draw some fuel in. Probably gonna have to fill the air fuel or the water fuel separator here by hand. Hold on. Right here. Okay, looks like there's plenty of fuel in there. I primed the fuel system pretty much till all the bubbles came out into the fuel jug down here. One thing I'm not 100% certain on, because I couldn't find anything in the manual about it, is I know this is the shutoff lever, but I'm not sure if it should be pulled to start or if it just should be left alone to start the vehicle. So I'm going to try to start it in this position, and if that doesn't work, then I'll turn it over to this position. I've got the throttle about a quarter of the way, or an eighth of the way open, just to get it fired up and moving. And let's give it a shot and see what happens. So nervous. Okay, I'm going to pin that lever open. Pin that lever open with a tie wrap. Here we go again. I'm going to undo the tie wrap. This was leaking out oil from the valve cover, so I reverted back to the original setup. And what I'll eventually do is I'll tie the crankcase breather pipe, or the oil return line on the other side, into this through a catch can. So that should eliminate any pressure on the valve cover and down here in the crankcase. So I'll tie that into a catch can, but for now I just set up the charcoal breather on there. And there was a bunch of air in the system, so I primed it until all the air bubbles came out once again. So I'm hoping there's no leak somewhere in one of the injectors. I'm hoping that's not the case, but let's try this again. here. I'm gonna shut it down. Let me fix the oil leaks and I'll try it again. Alright. I had the wrong size crush washers in there, so I had some from my Subaru kit with all the turbo stuff, and I stuck those in there, and I cleaned up that oil leak with some brake cleaner. And then over here we had that oil leak. I got to clean that up a little bit here, and then we'll try to start it up again. Man, it feels good to hear this thing running finally. Like everything is working the way it should. I don't see any more leaks. Gotta wait for the thermostat to open up, and then we can shut the motor down. Should go down as it heats up a bit. Making really good oil pressure. Thermostat just opened, so I'm turning it off. Woo! That was freaking awesome. Guys, I'm so stoked that this motor fired up and it had awesome oil pressure and everything worked the way it should, and I only had a couple minor issues. I'll have to look over the entire motor once it cools down, maybe tomorrow or another day. There was some oil down here, but I think that was from up here, and it just leaked all the way down to that spot after I cleaned it up with some brake cleaner. I'm hoping that's the case, but then again, I won't know until I really put the motor to the test and take them out and drive them around. And I did that. That startup was just a starter, no glow plugs. See, I don't even have the glow plug bus bar connected at all. So no intake heater either. So that was just basically, it's crazy that these motors run without any electricity whatsoever. Like, you could disconnect the battery once it started and you could just drive away. That's crazy to me. What else can I tell you? I don't know if I got it on the GoPro footage, but the transmission actually works too. It engaged in the gears. It's sitting in neutral right now, but I clicked it over a few times and it spun up through the gears. The actual first gear, obviously, because I don't have the ECU hooked up to it or the TCU hooked up to it yet. But hey, even without the TCU, at least you got one gear and you can move forward and get the heck out of Dodge. So if something like that does fail, it's great that you can get out of there. That's what I like about the setup like this. When I was thinking about building something like this, I'm like, what's going to be the most reliable? And this is crazy how this all came together. And I was able to get this entire setup for like $300 plus the AT545 that I have from Allison. But I mean, even that was a steal of a deal. So man, I'm so excited that started up and it worked out, and there was very minimal amount of issues. So my nerves are shot for today, as you can probably tell from my voice. But I'm excited. Everything went the way it should. The motor's got oil in all the galleries now. It's got good oil pressure. We'll have to do the break-in procedure on it once I get the tracks on it. Obviously, I still have a lot of work to do before we get to that point. But aside from that, guys, I think that's going to be it for today. If you like this episode, give me a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed yet, I'd love to have you as a subscriber. You're going to want to stay tuned, because once I finish this crazy build, you're going to want to see us take it out into the wilderness, where I'll probably never get it back if something breaks. But that's all part of the fun and part of the risk, right? No risk, no rewards. But other than that, guys, I hope you're all doing okay. Everybody's safe. Take care, and I'll catch you next time. See you later. Bye-bye.